Well, the temperature roller coaster has begun. We were cool yesterday. We're warmer today. We'll be cooler again for tomorrow. Series of cold fronts going to help deliver this temperature ride. You'll notice that we're going to stay dry through Friday, but reintroduce some shower chances over the weekend. But don't cancel any outdoor plans you have for Saturday and Sunday because rain chances remain slight and slim at best. So what we're tracking for today, notice the big disturbance here, certainly bringing out some frozen precipitation across portions of the Northeast and Great Lakes region. That is dragging a cold front down towards our area, but you'll notice the lack of moisture tied to this front. So no rainfall tied to this front, but it will move through and bring in some cooler temperatures behind that, but that's going to be temporary. You'll notice that we have got some dry air mid and upper levels, and so that too is going to inhibit any chance of possibly allowing for a sprinkle to form with this, but we will see at least a few clouds tied to this frontal boundary. So when is our next opportunity of rain? And I mentioned very slight chance of rain with the next front on the weekend, and that is it in terms of our next 7 days. Rain chance of 10% on Saturday, 20% for Sunday. So not going to be problematic for whatever you do have planned over the weekend, whatever holiday traditions maybe kind of leading up to Christmas, and then whether that's going out and getting the Christmas tree, setting up the decorations, what have you, maybe even visiting family and friends, business parties, things like that. Shouldn't have any issues this weekend. Now you will note here a snapshot of the European model for Sunday does show at least a few showers ahead of the front making its way through, but the timing of this is going to be pretty important, and right now it looks like maybe for the first half of the day. So the cold front looks to push through early on Sunday. All impacts remain very minimal. We'll have to dodge a few isolated showers, it looks like, for Sunday morning. In terms of rain amounts, most are going to receive little to none. And when we actually look at the rainfall estimations from some of our long-range models suggesting less than 1/10 of an inch, and many maybe just close to 1/100 of an inch, so barely enough to wet the pavement. Look at the ups and downs, though. That's going to be the big weather impact, I think, with these fronts that are going to be moving through, but the cooling effect kind of only temporary. So we go from a high of 72 today to a high of just 61 for tomorrow, then rebounding back to 73 for Friday and Saturday before we see the next front deliver another cool down, heading down towards the 60s and then eventually maybe even just the 50s by the time we get towards Monday, but then quickly rebounding once again to Tuesday. So the red line is actually average. You average all these numbers out and it's actually going to be pretty close to average. It's just we're going to be fluctuating so much beyond that. It's going to be hard to really judge what's going on in terms of the weather and what to grab as you head out the door. So here's our big dip in the jet stream that's bringing that kind of frozen precipitation off towards the east and northeast. You can see how the low continues to develop here across the New England states. So for us, it's kind of a glancing blow of some cooler air and then quick rebound with those mild temperatures returning. But then we get another surge of this cold air tied to our frontal boundary over the weekend. But once again, more of a clipping effect. The strongest of the cold air stays well towards our northeast, but it's going to be some bitter cold up from the Carolinas up towards the northeast as we make our way into the first part of next week. And then as you can see going into the following week, things may start to level out in terms of the jet stream, so that would allow for a more mild and pretty close to normal kind of forecast. We'll keep our eyes out on how that does progress, though, as we go farther into the future. So in the meantime, enjoy the weather for today. Going to be picture perfect, plenty of sunshine. We'll see a few clouds as the front moves through. 72 for your daytime high. It's going to be chilly for the morning start tomorrow in the upper 30s, and then struggling to reach 60 degrees for an afternoon high, but then the winds shift. We get back to that southerly wind flow late Thursday, and that's going to allow the warm up as we head towards the end of the week. 10-20% chance of rain Saturday and Sunday. So again, don't worry about those rain chances over the weekend if you have those outdoor plans. Sunday morning being that time frame of maybe seeing the best likelihood of seeing a passing shower.